Looks good.
And then we
It
move
does take a
forward.
tribe.
Yep.
We got this. We're
All
good.
right. Thanks, Sarah. Good job.
Thank you,
Okay.
Sarah.
So thanks for everybody's patience. We'll dive back in. I'm sure that will give us plenty of time to get through and still have time for questions, but we also have tomorrow with the open forum. So if we don't get to something today, don't worry, we'll get you the same information, anything you need tomorrow. So this is the vision and mission of the County of El Dorado. The next slide talks about the Department of Human Resources is committed to promoting the power of public service by fostering a diverse and collaborative workplace where employees are empowered, respected, and valued. This is really important part of who the county is and who Human Resources is. It's funny because this week is actually Public Service Recognition Week. So as we're talking, we keep in mind quite often the power of public service. And one of the great things about working for a county agency or at the city, state level is giving back to your community. So that's a big part of what we do. We can go to the next slide. The county works with each bargaining unit to review and negotiate each classification's salary schedule. And so when you work for a county, you would be in a different bargaining unit or a different represented by a different union or association. And those associations work with the county to come to an agreement that represents their unit. So all of the classifications have had at least a 2% increase in the last year. And those negotiations are continually happening so that, as we all know, things are getting more expensive. And so to keep up with that, the salary increases, I would say, are a little behind, but they do get back up to speed once those negotiations are happening. So we can go to the next slide. There are great benefits to employees when you work for the County of El Dorado, including competitive salaries, merit increases. Sarah, can you go to the next slide? There we go, thanks. Merit increases, those are the salary increases, paid vacation, paid sick time, holiday leaves. We have medical, dental, and vision insurance, life insurance, CalPERS retirement, which is great if you've been in another organization that has been with CalPERS, your CalPERS retirement just continues when you come on with the county. Or if you've been with, let's say, a private agency that isn't CalPERS, you would start a CalPERS account and your retirement would build and the county puts into that retirement. We also have 457 plans, which is kind of like a 401k for the county level. And so that allows you to put into another retirement account. And it's tax deferred. And then with some of our units, there's also county matching funds for the 457 plans. So that's a nice bonus. We have an EAP program, which I'll talk a little bit more in a minute, and telework or hybrid telework for many positions. We can go to the next slide. I'm going to share with you a benefit summary chart. This is specific to the general unit. That bargaining unit represents the most employees in the county. So it's a good example of what a typical summary would look like. But for any of the other units, these summaries are on our website. There's a little link down at the bottom, and we'll have this available for you tomorrow at the open forum. So just to give you an idea of what some typical benefits look like, the medical, dental, and vision plans are an 80-20 plan. So the county contributes 80%, the employees pay 20%. With the medicals, for this unit, there are 3 Blue Shield PPOs available and 2 Kaiser HMOs available. We've got Delta Dental and VSP for vision. The flex spending accounts and health savings accounts are available where employees can contribute pre-tax dollars that save you for things like medical expenses or childcare expenses. The optional life insurance is available to buy additional life insurance, but it's pretty nice for this unit. And I think for most of the units, there's at least a $40,000 basic life insurance paid for by the county. That just doubled as of January 1st, so that's kind of cool. There's a deferred compensation program. That's the 457 that I mentioned before. For the CalPERS retirement, if you're a new employee, you haven't had CalPERS before, you would probably come in at that tier 3, which is 2% at 62. So that's just the formula that CalPERS offers so that when you get to a certain age, you're eligible for retirement. We offer long-term disability, the employee assistance program, 11 regular holidays and 2 floating holidays per year. So that's pretty nice. Sick leave is 3.7 hours earned per pay period. And then vacation varies depending on how long you've been in the position. And again, these are some, general summary, but you can go to our website for any of the other units. We can go to the next slide. This is a little bit more information about the EAP program, which is currently with MHN, and it offers lots of services for anything that might come up in your life, including face-to-face or telehealth counseling services. They also offer work and life services. So if you need help finding some childcare or getting your finances in order or free legal services, those are all a part of the EAP program that's paid for by the county. We can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk now about examples of potential career paths when you get into the county. So with a bachelor's degree, these are examples of some of the positions that you might qualify for. With an associate's degree or college credits. With a high school diploma or GED, there's lots of positions that we offer that you can get into right out of high school, or with a GED, including building inspector, cook, maintenance worker, deputy sheriff. Oh, I see that there's a typo in that. Sorry about that. Detention aide, employment and training worker, fiscal assistants. And then if you have a master's degree or law degree, we have different positions that for those folks as well. We can go to the next slide. The county offers countywide positions. So these are some examples of positions that are used in many county departments. So when you apply and you get on an eligible list for one of these positions, you might be applying for, let's say, a position in the auditor's office as an office assistant. But when you get on the eligible list, if there is another position in another department looking for office assistants, you may get a call to interview with another department. So it's great to look at the postings, and even if you're not interested in that position, if it's a countywide position, you could get on an eligible list that could be, and you could be referred to other positions as well. Some other countywide positions include administrative technician, administrative analyst, paralegal, legal secretary. Those are all examples of things that are used in multiple departments countywide. We can go to the next slide. Healthcare jobs. So this includes positions that would be in public health or behavioral health, in our community services programs. Some good examples if you are in the healthcare field or looking to get into the healthcare field, there's lots of opportunities at the county. And then the next slide talks about law and justice jobs. So our law enforcement partners include the district attorney's office, the public defender, the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office, and the probation department. So these are all some examples of if you're looking to give back and work in either law enforcement or justice to give back to your community. We've got lots of options for those. The next slide talks about human services jobs. So these include positions that you might find in our social services programs, in our behavioral health department, in our community services programs. And this is, great for people, helping people. If you've got an interest in giving back and getting paid for it, these are some really rewarding fields to get into. And then the next slide talks about construction and trades jobs. So maybe you're more interested in being out in the field and doing things like maintaining our roads, inspecting buildings for building codes, doing construction, planning, engineering buildings and roads. So these are some examples of jobs specifically in the trades and crafts unit. That bargaining unit, and you can look on our website for more info about those trades and crafts jobs. Some seasonal jobs. So if, let's say you are a student or you work somewhere else, but you want to come on with the county and try it out, or maybe you're not interested in full-time work, we have lots of seasonal jobs, including things like maintaining our roads during the winter storms. I know we're all pretty grateful for everybody who was out there during the storms, taking care of the roads, getting the trees out of the way, taking care of the snow. If you were trying to get up to Tahoe, how important those snow removal workers are. Patrolling our rivers and helping visitors at our parks. So those are some kind of neat jobs during the season, winter or typically summer season, to get out, get some money, get some experience, and check out what's going on in your community. And then to finish off with job types, these are all the different types of jobs that the county offers. So not everything is full-time. What we consider full-time is any regular position that's allocated by the Board of Supervisors that requires 80 working hours per pay period. Our pay periods are 2 weeks. Part-time is less than 80 hours per pay period. Extra help are positions that don't get benefits. They're typically about 20 to 28 hours a week. It's a great way to try out the county or try out a department, see if it's a good fit for you, or look for something while you're in school and get some experience under your belt. And then we have positions that are volunteer and intern positions as well. That's it for me. I'm going to mute myself and then hand it off to Monique to do the next section.
Okay, I tried to turn my camera on, but I don't know, maybe it's me over here and things are just not working that great. So we will continue with more about how to apply with the county and what happens after you submit an application, that type of thing. So the first slide is basically a recruitment overview and applying with the county and what happens after you submit an application. So you can see kind of the workflow here. And so after an applicant submits their online application, Human Resources is always going to review all of the application details and any supporting documents you have attached that might qualify you for the position or the minimum qualifications. And the minimum qualifications are all listed in the job announcement. Applications that do not provide evidence of specific qualifications such as transcripts. Oh, most of the time it's transcripts. Other times it might be licenses or certifications. It really just depends on what it is. But any application that does not either or both, I guess, meet the minimum qualifications and attach the supporting documents could be rejected. And if that happens, an applicant is given a 3-day window to appeal that decision, in which you would have the opportunity to send us an email and let us know, why you do, or maybe what was missing on your application. We are not allowed to review or take into consideration any information that is new. For example, let's say you missed putting a job on your application that would qualify you for the position. We wouldn't be able to accept that. It has to be an expansion of information that's already there. So once applications have passed the final screening, there could be one or more examination procedures used to rank qualified candidates, or used to screen out candidates that might not be the best fit for the position. It just really depends on the recruitment. We'll go over more about what those screening processes might look like, but a lot of times you might see supplemental questionnaire questions on an application, and that is the time to really go into further detail about your specific experience as it pertains to the position that you are applying for. And then if you have, oh, sorry, I'm not done with that one yet. Okay. So if you pass all of those steps, let's say you pass the application review, then you pass the examination process, you'll then be placed on an eligibility list. And then that's when your application gets referred to hiring departments for review and an interview. After that, if you are selected, then you will receive a conditional job offer. And the conditional job offer is exactly that. It's conditional based on passing a background check. And oftentimes, depending on what the position is, you might have to go through a medical. We will always check education and experience, as we will need to verify the information provided on your job application through a separate agency that will make sure that what you put on your application is correct and true, and that experience is what qualifies you for the position. Okay, Sarah, now you can go to the next screen. So on our job announcements and our classifications, you might see this language quite a bit, and it says any combination or a combination of the required experience, education, training that would provide the essential knowledge, skills, and abilities is qualifying. So this is an example of a minimum qualification. And for this one, this example is for human resources analyst. So you have to have an equivalent to a bachelor's degree. Usually it's about 4 years for a bachelor's degree. That's how we look at it. And a lot of times it's going to ask for specific coursework. So this one says major coursework in human resources, business or public administration, industrial organization, psychology, or closely related field. And it wants 2 years of increasingly responsible experience performing paraprofessional administrative duties. And it gives an equivalent to human resources technician or administrative technician. So when you see that any combination language, if you look at it and you think, oh, well, I don't have a bachelor's degree, but I have, years and years of experience as it relates to human resources or administration, there are different pathways that can still get you passing the MQs. So this provides a little bit more explanation. So one means that your experience and education that you have, exactly that as it's noted here in this example. Or it means maybe you have 0 education, but you have 6 years of experience, because this is asking for 2 years, and it takes and and for a bachelor's degree, that's 4 years. So 4 and 6, 4 and 2 is 6. So you have 6 years of experience, which means that you meet this minimum qualification. Or you have an equivalent to an associate's degree and 4 years of experience. So that also um, would is a pathway for you to meet this MQ. And lastly, you have 1 year of education and 5 years of experience. So overall, there are different pathways to meeting specific MQs if it has this any combination language. So you'll really want to pay attention to that when you're looking at different positions on the county and on the county website and determining if you meet the minimum qualifications. And just because you might not have enough education or education at all doesn't mean that you won't qualify for the position. Okay, sorry, you can go. There we go. So this is more tips, application tips. So you'll always want to take a few minutes to review the entire job bulletin and the application. The application may have specific questions that you have to answer, or like I said before, it may request that you attach specific documents such as certifications or transcripts to your application. You can attach a resume and a cover letter, but human resources, when we're reviewing applications, we are not looking at resumes or cover letters to determine if you meet MQs. So oftentimes we might get applications, and I'll give you an example. I had one recently. It was actually an internal applicant, and she did not list any job experience. She listed job experience, but she did not go into detail on her application about what her duties and responsibilities were. She simply put C resume, and that application automatically fails because we do not review resumes. You have to use your application to list all of your work experience. So that is super important. Regardless of how far back the experience is in your work history, it's important that you provide all of the experience that you have that qualifies you for the position. So even if it was 10, 15, 20, it doesn't really matter. If you have the experience in your work history, we definitely want to see it there. You'll want to focus your education and experience to the job at hand. So you'll want to give details of the skills and accomplishments that demonstrate how your work experience relates to the position you are applying for. You'll want to show why you are more qualified than other applicants for the position. So really making that connection is key. I had somebody explain it to me one time that just because you say you work at Starbucks, we don't automatically assume that you make coffee. Maybe you're a manager and you never make coffee. So it's really important that you make those connections and go into very specific detail about your job experience and how it is connected to the position that you're applying for. Let's see. I think that's on this one. You can go to the next one. So more tips on your application. So you'll want to be honest, of course. We do check references, and of course you'll go through a background check verifying employment, education. Being dishonest is grounds for an offer to be pulled potentially. But you'll also want to tailor your application to the position that you're applying for. So like I said, if the job experience isn't relatable, then you don't necessarily need to put it. But if it is relatable, no matter how far back it was, then you will definitely want to put it. We send all of our notifications through email. So you'll always want to make sure that you're checking your email. I have had candidates, where they've applied, but then they might miss a test or they might miss a notification because they're not checking their emails. All of our notifications go through emails. Okay, you can go to the next one. So here are some sample assessments that we do. So exams. So after you get through the application process and you meet the minimum qualifications and you've answered your supplemental questions, you will then go through a testing process, and that could be a written exam. A lot of our classifications require a written exam, so something like office assistant or eligibility specialist, administrative analyst, administrative technician. A lot of our classifications go through an electronic written exam. So again, you'll want to pay attention to your email and make sure that you are looking for notifications, because you'll receive all of that information through your email. And we give a certain amount of time to take the test. It's also very clear when the test is arriving and when the closing date is. One thing I will say in regards to written exams is that if you are due to receive a test, and you think you haven't gotten it, of course, always check your junk or spam mail, but make sure you contact Human Resources immediately, because if you wait until after the closing of the test, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't send you a test again, but if you contact us before the closing date, assuming it's during normal business hours, we can get a test resent to you. The other assessment option is, like I said, the supplemental questionnaires. So when you answer those questions on an application, a lot of times that's going to an additional panel for review, and that is how they're going to rank your training and experience. So you're really going to want to dig in. I know sometimes that those questions on applications can be tedious and maybe feel a little daunting, but the more information you get about how you're qualified for the position, is really your first opportunity to sell yourself. Um, then we have a structured oral exam, which is very specific questions, and it's timed, so it's a lot more structured. And then there are computer skills tests. Sometimes departments will use writing exercises. They want to see how your writing skills are. So you might come in and go for your interview and spend the first 10, 15, 20 minutes performing a writing exercise. Sometimes for maybe our maintenance classifications, like fridge maintenance worker, you might have a hands-on performance test where the department is going to ask you to perform a task, and they're going to be, looking and seeing what your ability is. And then, of course, the hiring interview or technical interview. All of those are sample assessment options. Okay, next slide. So like I said, this is a little bit more about a written exam. So the county utilizes remote testing. So again, it comes from a separate agency that we are contracted with, and a written exam is used for many of our classifications. Testing will be sent to candidates who have met the minimum qualifications. You'll be sent a test link to the provided email. So if your email happens to change or you get locked out of it or anything happens, you'll want to make sure you contact Human Resources and let us know so that we can make sure and get you the test. The link is generally good for 72 hours. That's usually our timeline. It's about 3 days. But you will know if it's more than that, or it's never really more than that or less. It's always about 3 days. Like I said, if you don't get the test or something happens, super, super important to contact Human Resources. Okay. Next
and check
one.
your spam folders.
Yeah, exactly. This is an example of a supplemental question. I recently have working on a couple executive level recruitments, and I have supplemental questions on those applications, and it always surprises me when sometimes people don't put anything, and it's really, really important. In the job announcement, let me back up a little bit. In the job announcement, it will tell you what sort of exam process is going to be used. So it's going to tell you whether it's a written exam or whether it's going to be a supplemental question review to determine best qualified candidates that would move forwards. So this is an example of a bad response, and it's very short. It doesn't go into detail about how this person's experience qualifies for them for the position. It's just very vague. And when you have responses to supplemental questions, those questions get rated poorly. And that could mean that you get screened out of moving to the next hiring or to moving to the next interview. Okay, next slide. I'll give you a second to read through this, but this is an example of a good response. This example doesn't use any acronyms. It gives a description of a project that they worked on, and an overview of, it explains it. They used an acronym, but they also explained what that means. They didn't just assume that the person reviewing the application knew what that meant. It's a really great response, and as you can see, it's not terribly long, but it provides just enough information, and that really is key when you're filling out those supplemental questions. Okay, next one. So the structured oral exam this is where questions are related to knowledge, skills, and ability. So it's really going to be focused in on a position, and it really wants to draw out what you know as it relates to the position you're applying for. What you know, what your skills are, what you're coming to the first day on the job with, what can you do? Each candidate is asked the same questions in the same order. There are no follow-up questions and no off-script questions. The candidate can't, the panel can't explain or interpret the questions for you. So it's really super structured. But it's definitely a useful tool. And then what can we learn from a structured oral exam is personality and social skills, mental capability and job knowledge, and communication skills. So those are all the things that the panel would be looking at. Okay, next slide. So these are this is 2 different types of questions that you might get during an interview. One is behavioral or experience-based questions, so questions about past behavior while at work. This is good for complex positions that require a lot of job experience. So it's really like very technical related questions. And the next one is more situational. So questions about about future behavior. What would you do if? How do you respond to certain situations? It's good. This says it's good for lower level positions where candidates do not need to have much experience. I think these types of questions, both questions are used no matter if it's executive level or maybe more entry level, but both are good for different things. Bottom line is drawing out, trying to gain more understanding of your interpersonal skills and your personality, and then of course what you know and what you have done. Okay, next slide. So here's an example of a behavioral question. So tell me about a time you needed to get information from someone who wasn't very responsive. What did you do? And then a situational, what would you do if you were working hard on a project and were almost finished when the goals or priorities changed? So those are some examples of different questions you might see. I think it's always good to kind of always review the job classification or the job description for the position you're applying for, and kind of, formulate some questions in your own mind, and, practice what you might say if you were asked certain questions. Okay, next one. So again, this is an example of the most common hiring interview situations. I talked a little bit about the structured interview. So again, it's predetermined questions. The interview panel is usually 2 to 4 people familiar with the position, and panelists all ask the same questions, and candidates are all asked the same questions and are given the same amount of time. There's no follow-up. There's no back and forth. It's just it's very structured. exactly what it says. And then unstructured is the interview panel has no set procedure. The interview and panel may ask questions based on information in the candidate's application. Generally speaking, we're going to use a structured hiring interview. And then there's, usually time for questions after from the candidate. Usually they ask, people might ask, what are the next steps, something like that. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So this talks a little bit about eligibility lists. So once an applicant passes all the screening phases of the recruitment, then your name would be placed on an eligibility list for that job classification. Eligible lists are active for a minimum of 3 months, and sometimes they can get extended. If they are extended, you would be notified. And on the flip side of that, if they are exhausted early, you would also be notified. But generally speaking, they're active for a minimum of 3 months from the time that the names are all referred to the eligibility list. Applicants are, what does it say? Oh, you know what? This actually says applicants are not notified when the list is extended. And then let's see, eligible applicants are ranked on the eligible list based on their final score. So all of those examinations that you might have taken, whether it was a written exam or a supplemental questionnaire where a different set of people were rating your answers, you're going to be put in ranked order, and then in that order based on your score, that's how you might be referred. So let's say that you were number 10 on the list, but the department has only requested top 5. You may not get referred to that specific position, but it may be that you get referred to a different one. Same classification, same like if it's office assistant, same classification, but different department. If you see a recruitment and you think that you're already on a list, it never hurts just to apply to the new recruitment that you see, because there could be many different reasons. For example, administrative analysts, there are analysts that do different types of things. So for example, contracts, administrative analysts who might work in departments managing contracts, or other analysts who might work on grant writing. So departments can come to human resources and ask us to post a new recruitment, even if we already have an active eligibility list. So if you see a position that you've already applied for, it never hurts just to get on another list. You can go to the next slide.
I told her we're gonna skip these two.
Okay. So if you can go to this page, Sarah, where it says important employment related links.
Yeah, that one.
And you guys are our last presentation of the day, so if you need to go a little bit longer, you could use that time. I know we started a little bit.
Okay. Well, I
late last
planned
time.
on sharing my screen to go to the human resources page on the EDC website, but I don't know if I can try. Let's see what
Well, I can
happens.
probably pull it up too. Which one?
Okay,
do
yeah.
You want to do?
Go to.
We have. Did you want the job interest card video, or do you want to go straight to those links?
Straight to the links.
Okay.
We were just going to show people around a little bit how to get to the county job postings, how to look for the job descriptions to see what those look like on government jobs.
Okay.
Or the last link at the bottom is tips for filling out an application. That's on our El Dorado County HR website. And we have a lot of really good tips on there.
Yeah, I would say maybe start with that one.
Can you see the screen still, the new?
Yes.
Okay.
I only see this slide.
It's showing me the tips for applying with.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, if you go to El Dorado County or edcgov.us and you go to the human resources page, this tips for applying with the county, it's got so much great information. And I know it takes a lot of time to kind of read through some of this, but it's really going to provide a lot of the information that we just went over, so that your application really can be looked at and you are putting all of the information that you know qualifies you for the position and you're not forgetting anything. So there are really, really great resources on this website. Sarah, can you go to click where it says human resources, just right there under the big human resources, a little blue one up at the top?
This one?
Uh,
Yeah, so that's our main Department of Human Resources page.
yeah, right
And
here.
I'm gonna talk about the left side.
Yeah, so under this is the main human resources page, and under that quick links right there, you'll see it will give you what we just showed, tips for applying with the county, and then open employment opportunities, job interest cards. Can you click, Sarah, on that job interest cards link?
And this takes you right to NeoGov or government jobs where you can sign up for the job interest cards.
Yes, so you can select any one of these categories. You can select more than one, and anytime that a job becomes available within that, excuse me, sneeze. Anytime that a position becomes available in that area of focus, you will get notified. So you can select one, you can select them all, you can select just be very specific. But I think it's a great way. You'll get the notifications through your email. It's a great way to make sure that you don't miss anything.
And you can always go back in later and adjust your subscription to decide, oh, I'm getting way too many notifications for one job category. I'm going to change it and just have the other one. So you're able to change those at any time.
Yeah. And then there is also underneath the job interest cards, there's job descriptions. Oh, back where you were, Sarah, on the human resources page.
No, it's fine. It's right here too.
Oh, is it? Okay. I don't know if it's, I think it might lag on my end. It might be slow showing what it's actually showing.
We're on the job descriptions page now, which I
Oh,
didn't know
okay.
about, and I'm really excited to learn about.
Yeah, so this is obviously all of our job descriptions. It's got all of our classifications here. You can click in any one of these. It will tell you the minimum salary, the high end of the salary, and the MQ and the essential job duties, and it gives a lot of great information for every single one of our classifications. Sorry.
Really helpful to a lot of this information is in the job postings, but pulling this up when you're filling out your application to make sure you're addressing the specific things that are required for the position that you're applying is super helpful. So we really like it when people are as familiar as they can be with the job descriptions and what the requirements are so that you're filling out your application the best you can and making it through to the next step.
Yeah.
Are these open positions or are they all positions within the county?
They are all the job descriptions for every position that we have a class spec for. So they wouldn't necessarily all be open, but it's nice that all of them are available to find very easily at any time.
Absolutely.
On the same under the quick links that you can click on the open employment opportunities, and that's everything that's open right now.
And it's really easy to get to this website. If you click, Sarah, on the show more at the top there, we just put in some little tips for the application process, some more information on there for how to contact NeoGov. So if you're having a hard time getting into your account, you've gotten locked out, or you don't want to set up a new account because all of your employment information is in there, they can help you. And so their contact information is there if you need online support.
And there is a link, right? That sentence right in the middle, it says, we encourage you to review or frequently ask questions prior to submitting your application. So that is a great resource too, in addition to the tips and tricks, because I find that a lot of times, candidates do have questions, and a lot of it we went over today already, but I don't expect that you'll remember everything that we shared, and this gives a lot of great information and a refresher for, like I said, a lot of really what we went over today.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Were there
Yeah,
any
I
other
think
sites you wanted to go over?
I don't think so. Allison, do you have any?
No, I think if you get to our main human resources page, that gives you a chance to go to those quick links, and you can find the open job opportunities, the job interest cards, tips for applying. It's really all there. And we'll have more of that handout information tomorrow at our open booth. So if you felt like we went too fast or you missed something, we'll have that information available tomorrow. And this is just the QR code for getting quickly to the El Dorado County job opportunities. And I think that's what we have for you today.
Perfect.
Oh, the slide that says need help. This. Thank you for bringing that up. So, this is our main phone number, and if you need help when you're filling out your application, we're definitely here to help. We want to make sure that we get qualified applicants and help you through the process as much as we can. Obviously, we can't tell you exactly what to put, but feel free to call the number. And also, within the body of the job announcement on any one of our job announcements, you will see the email address, the direct email address to the person within HR who is running that specific recruitment. And they are always happy to help you with any questions you might have regarding that particular recruitment. So we really encourage you to utilize both of those, whether you need to call and ask for the person who's running such and such recruitment, or you email the person whose name or whose email address is listed within the body of the job announcement. That's super important.
I should have opened a job description.
Yeah, a job
Yeah.
announcement. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think someone was asking for your contact information. Was that the first slide? Do you guys
Uh,
have that?
I think it just has
You
our names on it.
okay. There's the office information is down here, but that's the same number that we just covered. I just want to make sure that I gave that person. And um everyone will be online tomorrow, so you can ask your questions there and can collect contact information and things like that. Sorry, allergies. I'm with
Yeah.
you. I heard you sneeze earlier and I was like, "Oh, I feel that."
yeah. Oh no, it's coming.
It's
Give me, give
been
me.
it's been fun, but I wanted to see if I could go back really quick and just open. Is there a multiple recruitment open that you know about? Let's look at the environmental manager. So it'll open like this, and then you can read through, and it's the same as we saw with Sacramento County and the city of Roseville, because they're all using this NeoGov, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but if you have a NeoGov account, it spans all of the government jobs pages as
Correct.
well. So
Yep.
that is,
Yes.
I love that we're all kind of going to one
Yeah, it's a
entity.
great feature.
But you can
So
kind of
if you
see the
scroll down, oh, you know what? Environmental management. If you
these are cool.
click, this one is just a little bit different than what our normal ones look like,
Oh,
because of
of
it's an
course.
executive level position and it takes you to a flyer. But if you click on eligibility specialist trainee right above that one, and then you scroll down, you'll see the person who's running the recruitment their contact information.
I always tell you during the recruitment process, it's up a little bit higher.
Oh, right back.
During the recruitment process, it explains what those different steps are for the
You
recruitment
passed it.
process.
Oh my gosh, why am I?
That's okay. Right. Where
I
is
think
it?
you're behind them
Oh, am I? Okay.
a little bit.
I
Up
don't.
a little bit. Right there. So how to apply, how to submit your application, and then if you have questions regarding the recruitment, it has the contact information for the person who's running that recruitment.
Right here.
And then after that, a little info about the recruitment process and what is going to be required during that process. So some of the things we talked about, the written exam, or if they're going to have a training and experience review, those supplemental questions, super important that you fill them out so that you can be ranked high in the recruitment.
I love this. This is so much good information right on the application, job description page. And then
It
go ahead.
It is. It's great. It can be a lot. So, when you're going through the process, it's great to kind of review and then go back and read more carefully. You might need, to take a couple a couple times going through to really get all of the information. There's a lot of it that we that are on all of our recruitments, like info about the county, information under that is usually about the department itself that the opening is in, and sometimes about what their ideal candidate that they're looking for would be. So if you're applying for something like an admin assistant or an administrative analyst, they might have a really different candidate in mind if they're looking for public health to fill that position versus if they're looking to fill it in social services. You might be doing very different things. As an analyst, you could be doing fiscal things, you could be doing grant management. So we try to build these job postings so they're as much information as possible. Sometimes it's a lot, but we really encourage you to read through it really carefully. And hopefully it has everything that you need. But if it doesn't, we have contact information on there.
This is great. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for all of that. I will stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions. Any last minute questions